Tonight, breaking news. A rogue driver on the run, an innocent man in hospital after a hit run in Melbourne's southeast. John Farnham's surgery shock. The message from a star mate on the long road to recovery. 5 bomber high flyers quit in a dramatic fallout over a horror season. A police warning as a young driver accused of killing a grandfather is released on bail. An icy blast causes chaos in the final throes of winter. And the AFL's All-Star Night, full coverage from the red carpet.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening, and we start with breaking news tonight. A man is on the run and another in hospital after a hit-run crash in Melbourne's southeast. Cameron Bowe is at the Alfred Hospital this evening. Cameron, the injured driver's been airlifted there.
Mitch, a 62-year-old man from Skye is fighting for his life following the collision. He's been airlifted here to the Alfred Hospital following the collision in a critical condition. As this security vision shows, at around 1:45 this afternoon, the man was driving a white van as it had collided heavily with a silver sedan on the South Gippsland Highway. The driver of the van had been attempting to make a right-hand turn into Claremont Avenue. It collided with that silver sedan and then rolled twice after the impact. Now, shockingly, after that collision, the driver of the sedan has fled the scene immediately after that crash on foot. They then got into a dark-coloured sedan which is headed west on Claremont Avenue. It's believed that that sedan has been following that silver sedan along the South Gippsland Highway. Now, that driver is still on the run as we go to air, but detectives from the Major Collision Investigation Unit who are in charge of this investigation believe they know who they're looking for. They believe that they will find that driver, Mitch.
Cameron Bowe at the Alfred Hospital, thank you. John Farnham is in intensive care tonight after marathon surgery to remove part of his jaw. The singer's in a stable condition, his family describing the operation as a magnificent outcome. Fellow entertainer John Blackman has been through the same surgery, saying it's a long and difficult recovery.
The music legend has cleared the first major hurdle in his cancer journey. John Farnham's 11.5-hour surgery that ended at 7:30 last night was declared a success.
It was a 2-part situation. The first part was the removal of the tumour from his mouth. The second part was when the reconstructive team came in because part of John's jaw has had to be removed.
Radio and TV presenter John Blackman says he cried when he heard the news. He lost his jaw in a similar operation 4 years ago and spent 3 weeks in ICU.
Hopefully John will get through this with as little angst as possible, and he's going to need all the support he can get.
In a statement, Farnham's wife Jill said, "There is still a long road of recovery and healing ahead of us, but we know John is up for that task." His family overwhelmed by the incredible wave of support. John will be blown away.
I'm thinking of John, and I can just hear Olivia saying, "You've got this, mate."
Biographer Jane Gazzo says well wishes have come from around the globe.
The co-writer of You're the Voice, Andy Quanta, got in touch with me and just said, "I just want to wish John the speediest of recoveries."
It's not clear whether the voice Australians know so well will be heard again.
I actually don't think he intended to ever perform again anyway after the death of his great mate and manager Glenn Wheatley.
Mouth cancer isn't common in Australia, but experts say cases were missed during lockdowns.
We know that in the pandemic people didn't get to the dentist as much, and it's often the dentist that picks up a mouth cancer.
Farnham only sought medical advice for his mouth lesion after Jill insisted.
It really destroys the fundamental functions of what makes us human. Breathing, swallowing, speaking, and it disfigures us as well.
John Farnham will have radiation therapy, his family saying his prognosis is good.
Get well soon, John.
Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Essendon's crisis is deepening with another 5 senior officials walking out on the club. Chief football reporter Tom Brown has the fallout from Tullamarine. And Tom, it's been a brutal day for the Bombers.
Mitch, the bloodletting continued today. By the start of next season, incredibly, Essendon will have a new president, new CEO, new coach and most likely new captain. But on the CEO, Xavier Campbell, the embattled boss, resigned officially to staff this morning. Just for some context, Campbell, over the course of 9 years, had hired and fired up to 5 football managers. He'd also strongly backed coach Ben Rutten, supporting Rutten as recently as Sunday's board meeting, where the board, the majority of it, sacked Rutten. He'd also supported outgoing President Paul Brasher and resisted, for the most part of the season, an external review.
It's been a challenging last 10 days, I'm not going to lie. It's a good time, and Dave deserves to have someone that's absolutely aligned and in behind the plan, but got the energy to deliver on that plan. That's not me.
Mitch, the positive today was that David Barham's new board has won a significant power struggle over the weekend. Now, the directors that were aligned to the previous president, Paul Brasher, including Brasher, have all agreed to step formally off the board over the course of the next few months. As for the coach search, the club is promising an exhaustive external search. There are supporters in pockets of the club that still support James Hird and hope as part of that exhaustive search, Hird will throw his hat into the ring. Mitch?
Tom Brown at Tullamarine, thank you. A young driver accused of killing a grandfather has been released on bail, even though police declared her a danger to the community. Alicia Fagan has been warned she's on her last chance.
Alicia Fagan was on bail when police say she hit and killed another driver at Sunshine West. Today, the 22-year-old was granted bail again. Police allege Ms Fagan was doing at least 78 kilometres an hour in a 50 zone when she struck Sadat Hassan's car, killing the grandfather. Ms Fagan denies she was behind the wheel, but a court today heard DNA found on the driver's airbag is a strong match with her own. It was also revealed she is currently facing more than a dozen separate charges, most for driving. Magistrate John Hardy remarking her motor vehicle use on the basis of the summary is nothing short of appalling. It was almost inevitable from her conduct. But despite expressing sympathy for Mr Hassan's family, Magistrate Hardy bailed Alicia Fagan to a rehabilitation facility for Indigenous youth. The court was told Ms Fagan will be able to leave the facility under strict supervision for bushwalks, gym, spa and sauna sessions, the movies and dentist visits. Alicia Fagan was told during today's hearing that this was her last chance at bail. She was warned any breach of her conditions would see her returned here to prison until a trial date is set. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
The opposition is demanding the Andrews government hold off on new suburban rail loop contracts leading into the state election. The call led to a war of words over the Liberals' signing of East-West Link contracts before the 2014 election.
Not only did they sign a contract on the eve of an election, they also, without telling any Victorian, they secretly signed a side letter.
We are concerned that they might do something stupid, that they might take a set of steps that are not welcomed by the people of Victoria.
The opposition has promised to ditch the rail loop if elected. Tennis star Nick Kyrgios is being sued by the tennis fan he accused of being drunk out of her mind during the Wimbledon final. Anna Pallas says his infamous on-court outburst was reckless and distressing.
Of all Nick Kyrgios's on-court tirades, this one is memorable.
I know exactly which one it is. So tell me. It's the one in the dress with the one that looks like she's had about 700 drinks, bro.
A serve at a fan who's just hit back. The one in the dress was Anna Pallas, a Polish medical lawyer. At July's Wimbledon final, Kyrgios complained that Pallas distracted him twice while he was trying to serve against Novak Djokovic.
There's no other bigger occasions. You didn't believe me, and then she did it again, and it nearly cost me the game. Yeah, okay, but why is she still here?
I was getting angry a bit because I just looked at it as, you know, you win this tournament and you become a tennis immortal, I feel.
He didn't win, but she was temporarily kicked out. In a statement through her solicitors, Pallas says that caused her considerable harm on the day, adding, Mr Kyrgios's false allegation was broadcast to and read by millions around the world, causing me and my family very substantial damage and distress. The 32-year-old has previously claimed she only had 2 drinks that day, a Pimm's and a glass of rosé. She says she's taking legal action to clear her name, hoping Kyrgios will offer what she describes as a prompt resolution to the matter. If not, she is committed to obtaining vindication in the High Court. In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
The Prime Minister has revealed plans to extend the cut on the fuel excise are being examined. It was halved 6 months ago, saving drivers 22 cents a litre on petrol, but it's due to be reinstated at the end of September. Anthony Albanese says his government is looking at whether it's possible to keep it going, but he has to get the budget back on track. Coles has announced $1 billion profit as rising costs hit customers hard. The supermarket giant's results are up on last year despite inflation, labour shortages and global supply chain chaos.
For many Coles customers, it's a hand-to-mouth existence.
They might be able to reduce the prices a bit.
It certainly appears that way. The food giant today announcing revenue of $39.76 billion. Net profit after tax is over $1 billion, up 4.3%. While customers are paying between 4 and 5% more at the till, shareholders can expect a dividend of 30 cents per share.
It's certainly not being passed on, is it?
Coles improved on last year's results despite inflation, labour shortages and global supply chain issues.
And it's just a shame that they do those billions of dollars worth of profit and they're crying poor.
Farmers like Guy Gaeta say none of Coles' profits flow back to the source, accusing the supermarket chain of price gouging.
The farmers should have to start saying no to their silly prices.
Coles boss Stephen Kane says food inflation won't slow down until sometime next year, but fresh items like lettuce are finally returning to normal. While the company cited COVID as a headwind, it also said a lack of lockdowns and public health restrictions will actually harm supermarket sales. About a fifth of customers struggling with their budget are making it up in the discount aisles, buying a lot more items like Coles' $1 pasta.
I think families are still struggling with the cost of living crisis that we're encountering.
Tom Saker, 7 News.
The Andrews government is dismissing new red shirts allegations with new claims senior police were blocked from properly investigating the scandal in the lead up to the 2018 state election.
The Ombudsman and the DPP have both thoroughly investigated this matter inside and out, and they've both concluded that the investigation is over and there's nothing more to see here.
Victoria Police declined to comment on the claims. The Albanese government is ramping up pressure to keep our best-known sports live on free-to-air TV. In an unprecedented move, the Communications Minister issued a warning amid fears footy matches and other sports could be locked behind paywalls.
They're some of Australia's greatest moments. And they're under threat.
It doesn't matter where you live or how much you earn, you should be able to see your sporting heroes live and free.
Extraordinary stuff! The biggest deal of them all, the AFL rights, is currently up for grabs, and the government's put itself in the middle.
Iconic sporting events should be made available to all Australians for free.
An unprecedented move, strongly urging the AFL to choose community over cash and keep the footy on free-to-air TV. The cricket in sight too. On a day, one streaming service announces it's secured the exclusive rights to broadcast the Rugby World Cup behind a paywall.
We can't take the game away from the people. If we do, we're going to miss out on our next superstar.
I definitely think it should be free for all, yes.
Everybody should get that opportunity to watch it.
While it's unusual for the federal government to get involved in commercial negotiations like this, it's not surprising, given Labor's election commitment to review anti-siphoning laws. Legislation designed to give free-to-air networks the chance to bid for major sporting events before pay TV broadcasters. But the laws don't cover global streaming platforms, now showing a growing interest in our game.
We're in unprecedented times, so it'll be interesting to see how much free content is available moving forward.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
Recent persistent rainfall means the risk of bushfires in much of eastern Victoria will be below normal this summer. The rest of the state is at normal fire potential. For the first time, the seasonal bushfire outlook is using improved science around fuel loads to make more accurate predictions. A council in Melbourne's northeast is the latest to scrap weekly home rubbish collections in a bid to reduce waste. Angry locals say it's not feasible and they want compensation.
A movement that's causing a stink, especially for young families.
2 weeks of not collecting nappies, the smell is just horrendous.
I'm here to talk about why we're going to FOGO.
Banyule City Council is the latest to dump the weekly red bin rubbish collection. Instead, a food organics and garden organics bin, or FOGO bin for short, will be picked up each week in a bid to reduce landfill waste.
We think it's a really positive environmental change for the area. When people's bins are overflowing on bin night fortnightly, that they're leaving rubbish next to their bins, or I've actually seen people put rubbish in other people's bins.
Some residents want compensation for having to upgrade to a bigger red bin to make it all fit.
There was a fee of $200 on my council rates.
Monash and Bayside councils have also scrapped weekly general waste collections, and Knox will follow next year as part of the state government's recycling reforms, with all households to have access to a food and garden organic service.
Landfill is costing councils much more than it was before. This is a knee-jerk reaction and literally using, the state system as the catalyst and the excuse to make this change and thrust it upon people. The community shouldn't be surprised.
Look, we'll work with it.
Good luck with FOGO.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
A polar blast has created treacherous conditions for drivers in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney. Black ice closed roads and temperatures plummeted, bringing late winter snow.
Black ice and thick snow had traffic going nowhere. A kilometre-long traffic jam after 2 major roads were closed in the Blue Mountains. Hundreds of drivers were told to park their vehicles, left stranded for hours as they waited for the ice to melt.
Gone to Katoomba, apparently. Trying to anyway.
Just killing the time here. Thought I'd make myself a little snowman.
The heaviest falls arrived overnight. The majestic transformation captured at this Katoomba hotel as temperatures plummeted to -2 degrees. By morning, ovals, homes and trees were blanketed in white. Sheep blended in with the thick powder on this farm near Lithgow as families made the most of the icy conditions at the park. But not everyone was dressed for the occasion.
You're wearing shorts and thongs there, come on. Yeah. It's snowing.
The Weather Bureau says today was the last of the icy blast as the system moves out to sea. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
The AFL awards season has arrived tonight. Tim Watson, clubs in the finals are taking extra precautions.
Mitch, the threat of COVID is keeping players on edge tonight. Mitch Cleary is on the red carpet for the All-Australian Awards. And Mitch, players are being kept apart.
Well, Tim, players from the 8 finalists will be in their own cordoned off section tonight, doing everything they can to prepare for the start of September. Some players even wearing masks on arrival. Tonight, the All-Australian team will be announced in Melbourne with 6 nominees. Their captain, Max Gawn, vying for his own 6th blazer of his career. Tom Hawkins at the Cats vying for his 5th. Other awards include the AFL Players and Coaches MVP awards, while the rising star will also be announced. Collingwood's Nick Dacos, the raging favourite, before he embarks on a maiden finals campaign. Should be an absolute cracker of a night, Tim.
Thanks, Mitch. We'll check back with you soon. Also, several big-name Geelong stars racing to be fit for the finals. Exclusive details as the Tigers and Pies fight to secure one giant signature. And Dane Zorko has broken his silence, Mitch, on the sledge that rocked the footy world last weekend.
We'll see you a bit later on. Thank you, Tim. Next, the wild police chase that went from Patterson Lakes to Altona and back. Also coming up, the pink plan to make city streets safer for women. Heartache as a family home goes up in flames in Melbourne's west. A Bayside backlash over a crime spike. And later, a drug and weapons crackdown in the northern suburbs, also getting a fair deal on home insurance. Two young men are in custody tonight after leading police on a wild chase for 100 kilometres across Melbourne. They're accused of ramming an innocent man's car at Patterson Lakes before clocking speeds of up to 150 kilometres per hour on Peninsula Link, East Link and the Monash Freeway. They reached Altona before returning to Melbourne's southeast. Police deployed stop sticks at Chelsea, with the two accused turning themselves in at Frankston Police Station. Residents in Melbourne's west were forced to run from their burning home when flames took hold. They made it out safely but could do nothing to save their house from being destroyed.
A family home erupts into a late-night fireball. 30 firefighters fought hard to stop it destroying the neighbours' homes as well.
All we could see was the house just lit up bright orange, smoke everywhere.
At first, the residents inside tried to fight the fire on their own, but quickly called for help. They weren't hurt, but were brought to tears watching their home burn down.
The father, I believe was on the floor screaming, crying, something that you don't want to see a family go through. Such a loving, caring family, they'd give anyone the world.
It took more than 2 hours to contain the fire.
Due to the intensity of the fire, we needed to use water from above. It's totally destroyed the house. The front of the house is still standing, but everything else behind the front walls is totally destroyed.
I was a bit scared and nerve-wracking. I thought my house was going to catch on fire, my neighbours and that. It wasn't the best feeling.
The cause is still being investigated, but it wasn't deliberately lit. Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Brighton residents are worried about a crime spike after learning a rehab clinic has been set up inside a hotel. The Savoy has been housing a drug and alcohol treatment centre for the past 9 months. Residents fear it's contributing to violence and crime in the area. But a hotel spokesperson says the program is saving lives and there are no drugs or alcohol kept on the premises. Women feeling scared or in danger late at night will have help getting home safely thanks to the Salvation Army. A pink car will travel around the city and South Yarra night spots, keeping an eye out for any signs of trouble.
Raring to go. It'll be hard to miss once this bright pink car hits the road.
What we want to do is have a program that's for women, by women.
A woman will drive the car with a female volunteer on board. Together, they'll patrol hotspots in the city of Melbourne and Stonington after dark.
And they'll just be looking out for young women that have been out for a night out in the city or the inner city and perhaps find themselves the target of potential violence.
If you see an incident or if you feel threatened in any way, do call out for help.
A recent survey found 63% of men reported feeling safe in the city at night, but only 36% of women. The pink car will operate between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. on Friday and Saturday.
We have a phone number, which is 1800 Community, that can be called anytime.
Police will also refer women to the service. The initiative, driven by the Collingwood Football Club, has two of its biggest stars on board.
Big smiles.
The car will be out patrolling the city streets from next weekend as part of the pilot program. And if it's successful, they're hoping to roll out a fleet of pink cars.
It's a really big focus for us as we're welcoming people back to improve that nighttime environment.
Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
Jane Bunn joins us now. And Jane, it was a rather damp afternoon.
Mitch, after a dry morning as expected, we reached a top of 13 out there at lunchtime. And then the weather changed. Light rain is affecting most parts of the Melbourne area. The guidance shows it'll keep going for much of the evening, mainly over eastern suburbs. Light rain generally doesn't add up to much. In almost 7 hours of persistent rain, the city has only recorded 2.5 millimetres. This activity does continue tomorrow, but it'll be much nicer by the weekend. Those details are after sport, Mitch.
Looking forward to that. Thank you, Jane. Melbourne taxi drivers are under fire over a move to fixed fares for major events. Your rights explained. Next on 7 News. Also coming up, new help to beat blackouts and rising power bills. Why Melbourne is turning blue and yellow tonight. And Meghan's shock revelation on a fire fright in Archie's bedroom. Melbourne taxi drivers are facing a backlash from passengers over claims of price gouging. They're accused of turning their meters off to demand a higher fixed price during busy periods.
They've battled Uber for 10 years. Now taxi drivers are getting consumers offside with a controversial move of their own making, turning off meters to demand a flat fee.
What we're seeing now is individual drivers charging some outrageous fares.
Cabbie turned MP Rod Barton says a strategy is needed to fix problems in the industry, many of them caused by Uber.
And if we don't address them, this taxi industry will fall over.
It is legal to negotiate a fixed fare before a trip and was reportedly widespread after last night's KISS concert at Rod Laver Arena.
20 taxis lined up there, all had their meters off. It was fixed price.
Gave me a fee straight away of $60 to Essendon.
We have had people complaining coming off international flights in the middle of the night to be extorted for outrageous fares of almost double going into the city.
The boss of Silvertop told 7 News, "We support a negotiated fixed fare for a street hail trip as long as it isn't higher than the government-approved metered rate." 13 Cabs said company policy forbids it. "Our drivers don't negotiate with passengers. As far as we are aware, they only charge what's on the meter or the guaranteed price via the booking app." 13 Cabs said if customers are asked by their drivers to agree to a set fee, they should make a note of the taxi number and report the policy breach to the company.
The consumer is being disadvantaged, there's no question.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Melbourne landmarks are tonight lighting up in blue and yellow for Ukraine. Nick McCallum is at Docklands this evening, and Nick, Ukraine Independence Day takes on a different meaning this year.
It certainly does, Peter, and for Ukrainians it's bittersweet. It should be a day of national celebration, but it also marks 6 months since the start of the Russian invasion. Today, the Ukrainian ambassador was in Melbourne at Federation participating in a flag-raising ceremony. He also pleaded with Victorian business leaders to invest in the rebuilding of his war-torn country. Bizarrely, he also touted the real estate market there.
In 5 years from now, you're going to make a fortune out of whatever you bought. Like a flat in Kiev, for instance, there is lots for sale now, but the prices you pay would be peanuts of what you can make out of it in 5-10 years, provided we win, right?
And the ambassador stresses in this David versus Goliath struggle, he's still optimistic David can win with the help of Australia and others. Peter?
Nick McCallum at Docklands, thank you. The solar panel rebate scheme is being expanded to include houses still under construction. More than 200,000 Victorian homes already have solar panels as demand soars following recent concerns about power supplies.
After the nation's winter power crisis, many want to make sure they don't suffer blackouts in the future, and saving money is an added bonus.
Working from home, it's obviously a great opportunity to have solar, cost of living as well.
Solar panels cost around $5,000 to buy and install. Now, homes under construction are also eligible for the rebate. It provides up to $800 off installation, plus a rebate of $1,400.
That's going to provide a homeowner savings of up to 70% on their power bills.
It's cutting the cost of living whilst it's reducing our emissions as we move towards cutting our emissions by 50% by 2030.
Tarneet has had the most solar panel rebates, nearly 5,000, followed by Craigieburn, Point Cook, Clyde North and Truganina. The best way to secure power supply is by installing a solar battery. They cost up to $14,000, so it can take years to see a financial benefit. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
The Duchess of Sussex has described how close then baby Archie came to tragedy during a visit to South Africa 3 years ago. Details of a nursery fire were revealed in the first episode of Meghan's new podcast.
Minutes after delighting students at this South African school 3 years ago, behind-the-scenes panic for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
We get in the car and they say, there's been a fire in the baby's room.
God. Oh my
the heater
gosh.
in the nursery caught on fire. There was no smoke detector. Someone happened to just smell smoke down the hallway.
That nursery, 4.5-month-old Archie's. He'd been put down for an afternoon nap by his Zimbabwean nanny, who by luck had picked him back up when she went downstairs for a snack.
He was supposed to be sleeping in there. Everyone's in tears. Everyone's shaken.
But in the middle of a royal tour, duty soon took over.
And what did we have to do? Go out and do another official engagement. And I said, this doesn't make any sense.
The revelations in Meghan's first podcast episode, a series titled Archetypes.
Hey, it's me.
The product of a multi-million-dollar Spotify deal the Sussexes signed more than a year ago. Meghan's first guest, tennis legend Serena Williams. The pair discuss ambition, something that took on new meaning when Meghan became a royal. In the United States, David Woyward, 7 News.
There's been a major crime blitz in Melbourne's north. Rochelle Brown is there.
Mitch, police are checking thousands of cars to clean up the streets here. I'll have the details live from Coburg next on 7 News.
Also coming up, the new way to get a fair deal as home insurance premiums go through the roof. J-Lo's triple treat, not one but 3 wedding dresses. And one of the rarest Holdens ever built up for grabs. Thousands of cars have been scanned in a 3-night crime blitz across Melbourne's northern suburbs. Rochelle Brown is in Coburg this evening, and Rochelle, this was the first operation of its type in Victoria.
Mitch, police use number plate recognition technology to target regos with links to known criminals. Over 3 nights, they scanned more than 25,000 plates. 80 vehicles were checked, 7 people were arrested. This footage from the police air wing showing the moment one man was detained hiding in the bushes. Police had tried to intercept the car he was in on Sunday night here on Sydney Road, but it sped off. The 42-year-old man has been charged with drug possession, while a 32-year-old woman was charged with serious driving offences, including evading police. They plan to use this technology for future operations. Mitch?
Rochelle Brown in Coburg, thank you. 2/3 of homeowners are worried about the rising cost of insurance as some premiums soar by thousands of dollars. One company is using technology to assess the risks to properties to get a better deal for customers.
A farm stay, the owner says, hasn't flooded in more than a century. That didn't stop a whopping hike in insurance premiums.
Just came in the mail as a bill and I was shocked and I thought it was wrong.
Overnight, his insurance bill went from $2,500 to more than $18,000. The flood maps had been redrawn.
We just had to drop flood cover. And now I feel very exposed and very uncomfortable.
Natural disasters helping to rapidly escalate the cost of home insurance nationally. In 5 years, insurance premiums have risen by 72%, a jump of more than $1,100. Queensland, the most expensive, on average nearly $4,000 annually. It's now a big concern for 64% of Australians.
It's the second quarter in a row where we've seen record numbers of people being very concerned about that cost.
One industry disruptor is offering technology to reduce costs. Sensors linked to an app alerting owners of water spills, triggered smoke alarms or intruders.
And it saves me the hassle of actually going through the process of, getting it fixed.
For keeping the device on, there's an 8% discount.
Where they will save money is that we reward them for helping to manage their risk better.
The effects of severe weather events are hard to escape, but the industry estimates around half of the factors leading to home insurance claims are avoidable in an increasingly challenged market.
They're just looking at the risks and costs are going up.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
Jennifer Lopez has revealed she wore 3 wedding dresses for her marriage to Ben Affleck over the weekend. The actress and singer wore gowns designed by Ralph Lauren. One dress was made using 1,000 handkerchiefs with 500 metres of fabric cut into ruffles and attached by hand. 53-year-old J-Lo married Ben Affleck 2 decades after the couple first got engaged. One of Australia's rarest Holden muscle cars is up for auction. It's a 1996 HSV GTSR. Only 85 were ever built, and this is number 11. The colour's been compared to a yellow taxi, but there's a 5.7 litre V8 under the bonnet, so there's plenty of grunt. Lloyd's Auctions are hoping for $500,000, and the current bid is around $140,000. Sport is next with Tim Watson, and Tim, Zane Zorko has broken his silence over his Demons sledge.
He has. Mitch, the Lions skipper, has spoken to 7 News. We'll hear from him after the break. Also, we're live to the red carpet as the stars arrive for footy's top awards. Jeremy Cameron ramps up his recovery at the Cattery, while a top Magpie went missing on the track. The Giant star in town for trade talks with 2 big Victorian clubs, and the gun Aussie golfer mixing it with Hollywood comedy royalty. Welcome back. Lions captain Dane Zorko has just broken his silence on the sledge that rocked the footy world, returning to Mitch Cleary at the All-Australian Awards. And Mitch, Zorko is remorseful.
Well, Tim, the Lions skipper admits he did overstep the mark in that sledge towards Melbourne's Harrison Petty, but he was only, Zorko says, responding to sledges from the Demons players. Here is the captain speaking to 7 News.
I guess there was, a fair bit of sledging going both ways on the night, and unfortunately, I crossed that line. There was plenty of moments where we were going right up to it, but I was the person that overstepped it, and I'm apologising for that.
Can you still be a leader of this footy club? Can you still be captain?
Yeah, I've spoken to the administration of the club over the last 48 hours, and one thing that's always been in place under Fages' role is that the playing group will choose the captaincy, and until that vote happens, I'd like to think I'm still the captain.
Here at the AFL Awards, finalists are off limits to media to avoid COVID before next weekend. Adam Sard is one of 5 Carlton players up for All-Australian selection, still reeling from Sunday's loss to Collingwood that kicked the Blues out of September. As a team, have you sat down and addressed what happened in that final quarter?
No, not yet. Obviously season's finished and a lot's happened, but we'll have our exit reviews sometime this week, and then I'm sure we'll go through it then.
Tim, the Demons have 6 players up for nomination tonight. Their captain, Max Gawn, he's vying for his 6th blazer of an illustrious career.
Thanks, Mitch. A number of injured Geelong stars, including Jeremy Cameron, are ramping up their bids for a finals return. The Cats say they're much better placed heading into September than this time last year as the club weighs up an age-old decision.
They're the ones everyone is trying to knock off this September.
We're certainly in a better position than what we were last season, just with the health of the group and the level of performance we're going at. Far and above what we produced last year, but that doesn't give you any guarantees.
Jeremy Cameron put his injured hamstring to the test today and looks certain to take on Collingwood. Chris Scott liked what he saw as Geelong's leading goal kicker completed his own session before finishing with the main group. Mitch Duncan also making progress from a hip complaint. The Cats could have as many as 4 changes for their clash against the Pies. Cameron, Stanley, Menegola and Duncan all pushing for a return.
We're not kidding ourselves though to think that it's not going to be hard the next month, and we're not going to have a lot of challenges, but we're in a position where hopefully we can stand up and deliver.
The Cats have key calls to make on several ageing stars. Isaac Smith is one of several players 30 plus coming out of contract.
We're talking, it's all good.
So you expect it to be here next year?
We'll wait and see.
The Magpies trained without Scott Pendlebury today, who was managed after a scan on Monday. The skipper is expected to train later this week, while Richmond's Jack Graham is in a moon boot but hasn't ruled out a bid to take on the Lions.
It's just a bit of bone stress on the actual foot. I've had turf toe since around 9 this year, so been allowing for that, so it caused other things to happen.
Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
The race between Collingwood and Richmond for a Giant star has heated up. Returning to Tom Brown with exclusive details. And Tom, it's decision time for Tim Taranto.
Tim, for the players outside the 8, trade period has started and 7 News' cameras were there at Melbourne Airport today when Taranto, who's one of the biggest names this trade period, arrived in Melbourne. Now, Taranto, in coming days, will see his manager, Matt Bain, see family, and also speak with Collingwood and Richmond. I think Richmond lead the race. Collingwood a significant chance, so they've only got limited salary space, obviously chasing on McStay and Hill as well, and possibly retaining De Goey. Meantime, the Bombers players, Tim, are set to go old school. Up to 35 Bombers who are in at the club today, most of them, for the meeting this morning with Xavier Campbell, will go overseas on a footy trip to Spain on Friday. As far as the search now is concerned, by the end of the week, Essendon will need a panel to select a new CEO, a panel to obviously select the new coach, as well as the panel and firm for the external football review. This man, Travis Old, from the AFL, if he misses out on Gil McLaughlin's job, is probably the most highly qualified candidate to lead the Bombers. But I know the board is keen to break up some insular management up here, and a couple of left field candidates that have been put to me tonight. Sue Clark, the COO of the Dogs, as well as Laura Kane, a prominent AFLW boss at the AFL, Tim.
Thanks, Tom. Carlton star Darcy Vescio has lit the fuse ahead of tomorrow night's AFLW season opener. The Blues and Magpies will renew hostilities after Sunday's blockbuster in the men's comp.
Well, as soon as we became Carlton people, we were told that we hate Collingwood. And, you know, I feel like from the first game, there was feeling about it.
Vescio will become the first Carlton AFLW player to reach 50 games. Seven's coverage begins at 7 p.m. The Melbourne Renegades have made their first move ahead of the Big Bash. Champion Victorian cricketer Brad Hodge signing on as an assistant coach, hoping to take the Gades from bottom to championship contenders.
We've certainly got big plans. You know, you're not in high performance sport to come second. You're there to win, and we'll do everything we possibly can.
Hodge last played BBL 5 years ago. Victorian Mark Leishman is coming home. The 38-year-old has committed to playing the Australian PGA and the Australian Open at Kingston Heath in December.
I have not.
It's been a long 3 years since I've been able to make it back, and really excited to see all friends, family, fans play in front of home crowds.
Cam Smith remains hot property. Even Shooter McGavin from the Happy Gilmore movie wanted a photo with the Aussie star ahead of the Tour Championship in Atlanta. You've certainly made it when Shooter wants a photo with you.
You certainly have indeed. Thank you, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, how is it looking tomorrow?
Mitch, there's more of this light rain, but things should improve by the weekend. The full details are next.
Hello, tonight on the latest from 7 News, the road ahead for John Farnham, a leading surgeon, explains the recovery to come. Independence Day under an invasion will cross to Ukraine on its national holiday, and our top social media sensations about to be revealed, the new list. If it's happening tonight, we'll have it for you on the latest at 11:20.
Hello again. We have another front moving through, and this one is bringing a band of light rain. It will continue tomorrow, but it improves dramatically by the weekend. It was dry in the city this morning as expected. Our top was 13 at lunchtime. Then the weather changed. Light rain came up from the south. Quite a wet afternoon, but as it's light, it doesn't add up to much. It did make it just 11 degrees all afternoon in the city, now risen just back up to 12. Clouds spread through much of the state this morning, followed by that band of rain. Wilson's Prom has seen 13 millimetres. The rest of the south just 1 or 2 at best. Now the light rain does extend into the north of the state, but it's only a very light spit as you head away from the ranges. Here's what it looks like in low-lying parts near the Murray at Cobram. These rivers do remain in minor flood, but the warnings here for any extra flooding have ended. You'll see shortly that we are heading into a dry spell. Today's front is clipping Victoria, but it's a bit different to our usual cold fronts. This one is actually a warm front. There is no cold blast behind this one. Instead, temperatures should actually rise a degree or 2. The cold air behind yesterday's front has made it well up into Queensland, but now we have high pressure making its way into the east. The warm front continues the light rain overnight and tomorrow, but it's not quite as chilly. It all clears later as the high comes in. That high moves through on Friday, so we'll warm up for the weekend. Parts of Melbourne should reach 20 degrees, lots of sunshine. The next big weather system arrives on Monday. Around the nation tomorrow, Brisbane, sunny and 20 in Sydney. That's ahead of showers there at night. Partly cloudy in Canberra, cloudy in Hobart. It's cloudy in Adelaide with morning drizzle, but mostly sunny in Perth. To Victoria, in the north, there's patchy morning fog, then sunshine gradually increasing once today's cloud clears. In the south, the drizzly light rain continues under grey skies. That'll break up during the afternoon and mostly clear at night. Closer in, grey skies do continue tomorrow. We've got light rain falling underneath. It'll start to break up during the afternoon. Pockets of late afternoon sunshine. Then the odd pocket of drizzle returns again at night. In a moderate southerly, it is grey out there tomorrow in the city with light rain, but it clears during the afternoon. It should rise to 15. To the 8-day outlook, most are dry on Friday. Only the slight chance of a bit of drizzle. Expect lengthy periods of sunshine. It is a top of 15. As we go to Saturday and Sunday, that's when the warm weather arrives. We're looking at lots of sunshine and most should stay dry, nearly 20. A big change arrives later on Monday and we're back down to cold temperatures by Tuesday. So grey with light rain tomorrow. That clears during the afternoon. It rises to a top of 14 is what I should have said before. Mitch, I was getting ready for Friday.
Great for suburban footy finals on Saturday.
Indeed, Saturday looks absolutely amazing.
Marvellous. Thank you, Jane. Now, here's what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow on Sunrise, finding the best super fund for you. The free service helping Melburnians secure the best retirement fund possible.
Plus, Koshi is one-on-one with Shaquille O'Neal. The 7-foot-tall basketball legend is in Australia and on Sunrise.
See you in the morning.
And that's the way it is this Wednesday, the 24th of August. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.